right. Well, welcome to everybody. Shalom. I hope you guys are blessed and being safe and warm. Wow, it's we're getting some pretty good weather. I shoveled snow all day today, and you guys in Austin, I understand y'all are actually going to see some pretty inclement weather here in the next day or two as well. And then we're in for another really bad spell of it in about 10 days of sub-zero weather, so I understand. Gonna be good. Yah is good, and he's good sometimes. So, shalom to each and every one of you. We're blessed. We are absolutely blessed to have been given the kindness of the truth and the kindness of his words. And so, welcome to each and every one of you. We're in the book of Ecclesiasticus. One of the major pieces of wisdom. Helps us a lot. There's really a lot of good stuff that we still have, although we've been now at least 41 weeks. I was talking to somebody today. I was in a doctor's appointment, and as always happens, it seems like me and a nurse end up having a conversation about the scriptures, and of course that always mucks everything up. So it was strange. I talked to a lot of people that are outside of the faith, and those people in many cases are outside of a belief system because of the belief system. And I thought how sad it is, that Yah sent his word to heal us, and yet they spend so much energy to teach this lying, man-made, pagan doctrine. How sad for humanity. It really is horrible for humanity that is the truth, but it is the truth. And of course, as all bad seed does, once it's planted in you, then you have to actively dig it up. Most people are not interested nor willing to do so. So if you're one of those people that are really are hungry for truth, no matter where you are, whether you've read a lot of Bible or a little Bible, the fact that you want to know what the truth is, hopefully will continue to lead you on and lead you into truth. That's the purpose. We're supposed to be looking for truth. And so I feel like we're really blessed. I see Yah's favor all around. His presence and his kindnesses, although things don't always go the way you want them to. Sometimes they don't go the way you want them to at all. Does that mean that Yah is no longer? And I think that sometimes we get in a situation where we kind of, and I'm guilty, I promise, we have our little pity party about how horrible everybody's treated us and how bad things are, and we're all, and guess what happens, folks? Before it's all over with, we're sad and depressed and discouraged. I want you to hear today, YEHOVAH, I'm not talking about any other belief system, but the Elohim is absolutely real. He's absolutely infallible. He's absolutely the perfect father. He's absolutely the perfect husband. Now, if we would believe him and find out what he said about a husband and a father, guess what would happen? A lot of society's ills would be fixed. So sickness comes when we disobey YEHOVAH. And that sickness, while it does apply to our physical body, when we eat unclean food, guess what? We get diseases. And when we eat unclean food, as far as the word, guess what happens? We also get sicknesses spiritual. And so let's don't do that. I've been sick my whole life, and I'm so glad that he gave me the courage to come out of Christianity. Not for the sake of leaving Christianity, for the sake of the truth. And so we're in chapter 41 of the book of Ecclesiasticus. I hope you're as blessed as I am, because I'm feeling mighty fine right now. And I know that he is with me, and I know that he's going to be with me. He has a plan, and I believe he'll fulfill that. And I believe that's true for you. We saw in Tobit that all this stuff this girl had gone through, and Yah always intended for those two. Wow, come on. That one right there just sucks like the wind out of me. Every time I think about it, I got to stop and then go back later and go, okay, now let's look at, now this was supposed to happen to me. And so Let's learn how to trust him. If we learned how to do that, can I tell you what we would also be doing? We would learn how to be blessed, because trusting him is what brings blessing. And so, shalom to each and every one of you. Let's pray, and Mikey's going to blow the shofar, and we're going to get started. For those of you who look at that stuff, we're at chapter 41, and we're going to start in verse 16, and that's just to read into, and I shared last week why that is, because it's a breaking off of a teaching, and we had to stop for time. So let's pray. Father, bless you. Thank you so much for your wonderful love and your mercy. Amazing and true and honest and right and good are your ways, YEHOVAH. Help us have the courage to follow you, that we might become your children, and we understand that children look like their father. I thank you today for it. Amen. Michael. All right, we're in the book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus. We're going to start out in chapter 41, and I said 16, but I apologize, it was 13. I want you guys to see this. This is a bleed into chapter 42. Chapter 43 is just as powerful. A good life has but few days, but a good name endures forever. My children, keep discipline in peace. For wisdom that is hid, and a treasure that is not seen, what profit is in them both? A man that hides his foolishness is better than a man who hides his wisdom. Wow. So here's the problem. Here's the dichotomy that occurs out of that little thought process, folks. If we possess wisdom, it's not okay for us not to make use of that. Uh-oh, is anybody hearing me? So if it's not me going and talking to an assistant, a doctor assistant today, where in your life did you go and how did you share the wisdom that Yah's given you today? Was it with your grandchildren or your children or your friends? Did you teach them wisdom? Because if you possess wisdom, you now have an obligation. See, not possessing it makes it okay for you to keep your mouth shut. In fact, it would be better if you did. But as you gain truth, you're supposed to have one single purpose for walking on this earth, and it's summed up in the first Torah word, the first Devarim of the 10 Devarim, which is, love YEHOVAH with all your heart, all your mind, and all of yourself. And the second one, of course, is like it, love your neighbor like you love yourself, which isn't happening on 1,000 levels. Wow. You mean this stuff is real? So, he says, therefore be shamefaced, which is why I wanted to come back to this point, because if you remember right, these are kind of set up in a list form. And so we went through the list, and now we're kind of breaking over into the opposite side of the list, or will be when we finish this. Therefore be shamefaced according to my word. Let me ask you a question, folks. How do you take that and put that in a Christian, I'm going to say it like this, a Christian mindset person who has been brainwashed by a lying religion? How do you put that into them that everything is not good and everything is not okay and not everything are we supposed to be happy, joyous, and free about? Look at the concept of this. It verges on the edge of a commandment. And it is, but it's an unspoken commandment that this is the mental perspective when we deal with these things. Let's see. Therefore be shamefaced according to my word. For it is not good to retain all shamefacedness, neither is it altogether approved in everything. Shamefaced isn't in everything. I'm not supposed to go to a wedding and be shamefaced at the wedding. Okay? Just like I'm not supposed to go to a funeral and laugh the whole time because somebody's dead. Neither is it altogether approved in everything. Be ashamed, So we are supposed to be ashamed of some things. Folks, whether you see it or not, this whole concept that I'm constantly talking about really is, I'm talking about a manifestation of spirit. Whether you know it or not, I told you guys and I shared with you that 2 years ago that I felt like that Yah told me because of the spirit forces that are functioning in the I'll say it like this, the alphabet soup lifestyle, okay? That is a spirit force. Don't you be a little bit, you want to see the spirit world functioning? And I'm going to show you, because next week he talks about something that you guys, very relevant, that of his and what it means to Yah versus what it now means on this earth. It's actually quite mind-boggling how Yah views what they're doing and how huge an abomination and how much every one of them are going to pay a price for their behavior with what Yah created. Wow, see, this, if this stuff is real, if Yah is, I'm not talking about apocalypse. I'm talking about the order of how your life goes on an everyday basis. He's everywhere, folks, and he's everywhere every day. It's up to us to learn to find out who he is and then to recognize how he is. Be ashamed of whoredom before father and mother, and of a lie before a prince and a mighty man, of an offense before a judge and a ruler, of iniquity before an assembly of people, of unjust dealing before your partner and friend, of theft in regard to the place where you live, in the regard of the truth of Elohim and his covenant. What is the priority of everything in life? What does life revolve around? The Torah and Yah's covenant. There is no other message, folks. If you've been preaching another message, you need to stop. There is no other message. Without the Torah, you're a sinner and you will burn. I'm sorrowful. That's the simplest way to say it. Okay? I don't know all the great mysteries. Yah hasn't taken me up into the third heaven and given me a hit of supernatural acid. Okay? But I know that there is something after this, and I know that it's not going to go well for those who choose not to believe his word, and I know that it is going to go well for those, whatever that means. So, of offense before a ruler, of iniquity before an assembly, of people, of unjust dealing before your partner and friend, and of theft in regard of the place where you live, and in regard of the truth of Elohim and his covenant, and to lean with your elbow upon the meat, and of scorning to give and take, and of silence before them that salute you, and to look upon a harlot, and to turn away your face from your kinsman, or to take away a portion or a gift, or to gaze upon another man's woman. You should be shamefaced in these, remember that's the list. Or to be over busy with his maid, and come not near her bed, or of upbraiding speeches before friends, and after you have given upbraid not, or of iterating and speaking again that which you have heard, and of revealing of secrets. So shall you be truly shamefaced and find favor before all men, if you do not do these things. And of these things be not ashamed. So we had the whole concept of 41 is, please tell me what the definition of sin is. And they didn't know. Can I tell you? I told them that you're approved to be a Christian pastor because every Christian pastor I've ever talked to cannot give you the correct answer to what sin is. What is sin? And is it real? And does it matter? Sin is the breaking of the Torah. Pure and simple, folks. You break the Torah, you're a sinner. What if we really believe that, and what if we begin to focus and function and let go of some things that we're getting accused of being sin? Because, you know, people will impose their false religious belief systems on you. Of the Torah of Elohim and his covenant. It's funny that would be something we should not be ashamed of. And of judgment to justify the wicked, of reckoning with your partners and travelers, or of the gift of the heritage of friends, of exactness of balance and weights, or of getting much or little, and of merchants indifferently selling of much correction of children, and to make the side of an evil servant to bleed. Sure keeping is good, where an evil woman is, and shut up where many hands are. Deliver all things in number and weight, and put all in writing that you give out or receive in. All very good common sense. It is to say that he speaks of a specific kind of woman. You might not want to put her on your checking account. Judge Judy made a lifetime of judging those situations. Don't be ashamed to do that. Wow. How's it work? In America, you go pay a tax to the government so they can enrich themselves, so you can do something that Yah ordained at the beginning of creation, and now you can get to pay your government because you did this thing that Yah created. Is anybody hearing me? I'm sorrowful. I don't think they had a State Department that put a seal on a piece of paper and a preacher signed it when Abraham took his 7 wives. Is anybody alive tonight? So we shouldn't be ashamed of balancing weights. There's a spirit, there's a piece here that I really want to, I think is worth bringing out for all of us, and hopefully it'll lodge in your mind and you'll keep thinking about it. If you'll look at Yah, this is one of the attributes of Yah that I see, and I see it consistently in Yah's people. They are all people that are of very high integrity. I honestly believe you can't walk with Yah without integrity. That's why people who have no integrity always leave him and the Torah way, because they don't want to live a disciplined life, which integrity comes out of discipline. So of merchants indifferent selling of much correction of children, I don't need to be ashamed of that, or even to make the side of an evil servant to bleed. Of course, now we would have to have a whole dialogue. It would go to the Supreme Court about how horrible it is to have a servant. Sure keeping is good. Where an evil woman is, you want to keep it sure. And shut up where many hands are. Deliver all things in number and weight, and put all in writing that you give out or receive in. Be not ashamed to inform the unwise and the foolish. For some of you who are struggling with this, should you say anything? There is both a time to say and a time to stop saying. That's the problem that we had. The pattern that, yet again, another wisdom writing, which is the book of Proverbs, we are told that there is a time for things to start, but just as there is a time for things to start, my friend, there is also a time for things to stop. And unfortunately, we don't live in a life that continues on forever and never changes, and it changes every single day. So be not ashamed to inform the unwise and foolish. Foolish in a Hebrew mindset has to do with the concept of being an unbeliever. So unwise people and people who do not believe Yah, don't be afraid or ashamed to say something. You should tell them about the Torah. You should tell them that all Yah really ever wanted from us was he wanted us to join into his covenant and keep his commandments. And if we do that, he made us a promise in the book of Exodus that we would become first-class citizens, not second-class citizens. And there's nobody that can take that away from you unless you let them. No matter how many different denominations try to. So be not ashamed to inform the unwise and the foolish, and the extreme aged that contends with those that are young. Wow. So you mean then I'm not supposed to just shut up and let mama tell me Shandala about church on Sun Worship Day, right? Is anybody hearing me? How many times, maybe none of you have, but maybe none of you, I don't know who says and who talks and who shares the truth with people or not. But I know many situations where it's given as a gratuitous that it's okay for me to sit and listen to somebody tell me lies that I've spent 25 years trying to come out of. I'm sorry if I ain't going to do it. I'm either going to leave or say something. Sometimes leaving is the best. So, these are all things we're not supposed to be ashamed of. Remember that. We're not supposed to be ashamed of these things. I'm not supposed to be ashamed to tell the aged ones that they're in error of Yah's word. Thus shall ye be truly learned and approved by all men living. Understanding this is written from a person that lives in a concept of a Hebrew Torah-keeping environment. To them, you would have been cast out. Just like you won't go tell the stories about all the bad things that you did if you're an Amish, because if you do bad things and you're an Amish, and I'm talking against their rules, they will have no problems in putting you out. And that's how it should be. The father wakens for the daughter, and when no man knows, and care for her takes away sleep when she is young, lest she pass away the flower of her age. So I would like to make a blanket statement to any young women or any parents who have young women in your life that you are over as a mother. You have missed the point. Has anybody besides me ever raised a boy and a girl together? I not only got blessed to do it once, I'm having to do it twice. If you can't figure out how the Bible applies and how right it is, because folks, I didn't know a thing about the Bible when I started reading it, and I saw it in my everyday life. Why? Oh, well, he's a, what do they use that term? He's a bigot? Isn't that what the one for men? The father awakens for the daughter when no man knows. Why? Because he wakes up in the middle of the night. And I'm not sure that he's having a heat flash. Although some of you do wake up in the middle of the night with hot flashes. And the care for her takes away sleep. Why? Because women are not men. Did you notice there's a reason why he said a daughter and not a daughter and a son? Why? Because Yah knows exactly how daughters are going to behave. Lest she pass away the flower of her age. How many? How many? And being married, lest she should be hated. In her virginity, lest she should be defiled and gotten with child in her father's house, and having a man, lest she should misbehave herself, and when she is married, lest she should be barren. I hate to tell you guys this, but if you will open your eyes and look at the statistics of the quantity of females who are not and cannot get pregnant in our society, you will find right here in these scriptures, you will find why that's happening. Yah has already begun, and he's always been doing it, but he's already begun a process to whatever the end of his completion of this age is. So, lest she should misbehave herself, and when she is married, lest she should be barren. So you mean parents and overseers and keepers aren't supposed to allow their daughters to misbehave themselves? I wonder what that means. You mean she doesn't get to dictate what goes on? Every whim isn't the most important thing? Keep a sure watch over a shameless daughter. Does anybody hear that? I showed you on Shabbat that we have a messed up picture of relationship between man and woman. I'm going to say it again so I help you, because maybe there's somebody out there that actually wants help. Okay? Men are the head. Women were made to help them. That's exactly the role that every one of you should be deeming worthy of following. Women, you should be worried about blessing your life and honoring your husband and helping your husband, not doing everything you can possibly do to win. And men, Your job is to guard her. That means you don't let everybody talk to your wife. Some of the most stupid stuff I've seen in counseling. Oh, well, you know, my husband said it's okay if I go over here and hang out with this guy down the street. Okay, well, I know where y'all will be. Happens millions of times, folks. A man has a responsibility to watch over her. That's what feminism doesn't want. Right? You're not going to rule me. Well, good. I don't want to. I'll go find somebody else that wants to be ruled. And unfortunately, men, most of them don't have enough spine to actually make that decision and recognize that. A man's not obligated to put up with an unruly woman, according to the Torah. Keep a sure watch over a shameless daughter. Well, here's the first question I'd have to ask. How do we know she's shameless? I don't, well, what do you mean by shameless? Does that mean without shame? Does that mean a daughter who refuses to obey and live a life proper that's pleasing? Keep a sure watch over her, lest she make you a laughingstock to your enemies. How many times in Christian churches have I seen this? You know, it's really hard when you have somebody sit in your church on Shabbat and then you watch them on video with another guy that they're not married to on YouTube or on Facebook and all that mess. That's why I don't do any of that stuff. It's cool if you do. I'm glad for you, but there's just too much prostitution on that thing. And I'm talking spiritual as well as physical. Lots of spiritual prostitution on Facebook and the like. So I'm going to just leave it at that broader term. Keep a sure watch over your shameless daughter, lest she make you a laughingstock to your enemies and a byword in the city and a reproach amongst the people and make you ashamed before the multitude. You recognize all of that was about one thought. He didn't shift gears. He didn't slip over here and, oh, well, see, now he's talking. No, honey, this is about a father and a mother's behavior toward the daughter and nothing else. Behold, not everybody's beauty, and sit not in the midst of women. There's a commandment I need to put on some men. Sit not in the midst of women. I never forget when I first started going back to church, I've been a dope smoking heathen and I was going to go to hell for sure. Well, I did have one saving grace. I never did like alcohol. But everything else I liked a lot of. The pastor says, well, we're having a women conference. You're just new here. You know, the Bible says you don't have to come, but, well, I might think if you want, you know, and he just kind of mumbled off and I went. I just started church 2 weeks ago, and I already know that's a bunch of bunk. Don't go sit in the middle of women. You know what happens? Bad things happen. So here's the point that I'm trying for you to see. Is there some things that because of wrong doctrine and false teaching that are not Torah approved, if I can use that term, please give me a little leeway. If the words aren't perfect, you should be able to get the general idea. Are there things contained in these scriptures that could potentially protect me, make my life better, and use me to help protect and make other people's lives better? Can I tell you, Yah didn't put one thing in there because he's mad at you and he wants you to stop. He put it in there because he knew what the end of it would be if you go down that road. You want to be a thief? Go steal. You get thrown in prison, don't ask me to come visit you. You want to shoot a man for no reason? Don't ask me to come visit you. See, we have a real problem of understanding. Many of the problems in our life that we go through, we went through them because we rebelled against Yah. And then we rebel and we go, oh, woe is me, man, I just can't believe. And we start blaming it on other people. 99% of the problems every one of us will have as humans are because we chose not to make the decision that followed Yah's Torah. Now, I understand we were taught to do that. Christianity taught us to do that. But you're supposed to come out of the unclean thing, not continue in the unclean thing. Somebody said to me, well, do you let Jewish Christians in your church? And I said, no, I don't let Jews or Christians. I only want to know people who want to know the truth of Yah. I don't care if you came from Israel. You're not God's chosen people, folks. There are 12 tribes of Israel, and it's time people all over this earth began to acknowledge the truth. Israel was the chosen one, not the Jews. In fact, that concept doesn't even exist, and I'm sorrowful, till the New Testament. Doesn't exist. There is no mention of Judah being the chosen one. Israel, the 12 tribes, were the chosen children. It's time we begin to recognize what that means. I don't have to live up to their standard, folks. They have a Torah under this arm, and they have a Talmud in this hand, which is the one they're reading. In fact, I saw a real interesting thing because I get all kinds of stuff sent from all kinds of people. I read all kinds of Torah information and Chabad, and I constantly try to find out what's going on in the world around us. And now it's called Talmudic Judaism. That's one of the terms that I've seen creep up all of a sudden. So it's not even Torah Judaism anymore. Now it's a Talmud, and YEHOVAH did not write the Talmud. It's written totally from rabbis who absolutely unequivocally can't agree with anybody on anything. So tell me, how is eating blood good and not eating blood is good? And both rabbis are right. If you start studying, you'll find out exactly what I'm talking about. I'll leave that alone too. So keep sure watch over a shameless daughter, which means we're not supposed to be mindless. We're supposed to be honest enough to look at our children and know what our children are. Wow, I don't see that happening in most situations. Oh no, American Christian psychology has said, you will harm that poor little child. We'll have an impasse here. So, behold not everybody's beauty, and sit not in the midst of women, because you'll end up getting yourself in trouble if you're a man. For from garments comes a moth, and from women, wickedness. And of course, the hackles just went up all over the world. I guess you have to define wickedness, don't you? What does Yah really mean when he says wickedness? Absolutely. Dave just said it. Torah breakers. There are people that are learning these principles that I'm trying to share, and it's a slow process for all of us, folks. But we can learn what right and wrong and up and down and good and bad is. Behold not everybody's beauty, and sit not in the midst of women, for from garments comes a moth, and from women wickedness. Better is the churlishness of a man than a courteous woman. A woman, I say, which brings shames and reproach. Women, just because you've been told it's okay for you to, you really probably shouldn't be dialoguing with all of those people you encounter. Many postmen have ended up in the bedroom of somebody because of that thing. And that's just a single purpose. Or can I talk about virtuous women for a minute? Virtuous women are not American women. In fact, I think it's almost impossible for you to be virtuous in an American. I will now remember the works of YEHOVAH and declare the things that I have seen. What's the purpose of us? We're about to read it. You want to know why humans were created? We're going to read it. I will now remember the works of YEHOVAH and declare the things that I have seen. And the words of YEHOVAH are his works. You know why I constantly keep telling y'all that we must learn his character, and the only way we know his character is by reading who he is? There's the answer for you. I'm not wrong. I get accused of being wrong and then prove 500 times how right I was. And it's happened for the last 30 years. It's okay. And the words of YEHOVAH are his work. That's how we come to know who Yah is. That's how we come to know the character of Yah, is by reading his words, not by reading the words that aren't his. That's why the New Testament is such an abomination. The sun that gives light looks upon all things, and the work thereof is full of the glory of YEHOVAH. YEHOVAH has not given power to the Kodashim to declare all of his marvelous works. I have many things. I probably have 30 or 40 things y'all have spoken to me I haven't shared with anybody. A lot of times people aren't capable of dealing with the reality. I would tell you to get ready, but I'm not going to tell you why I tell you that. There's something big coming. YEHOVAH has not given power to the Kodashim to declare all of his marvelous works, which El Shaddai YEHOVAH firmly settled, that whatsoever is might be established for his glory. Whatever is. The purpose of establishing it is for his glory. You are something that is. Your purpose is supposed to be to declare his majesty. You have no other job, folks. There was no reason for you to be born on this earth than to glorify YEHOVAH, to go everywhere you go and tell people about this wonderful, kind, saving, redeemer, savior who didn't need a son, and he didn't need sacrifice. He didn't need a human to die. He's already paid the price. Actually, there was no price to pay. He created it all with full knowledge, folks. Do you see? I hate to tell you, if this revelation ever hits you between the eyes, it's going to mess you up big time. Okay? Y'all didn't make anything wrong. You'll find that out probably next week. I think it's over in 43. But you'll see that many of these things that I'm telling you are here. Watch. YEHOVAH has not given power to his people, his set-apart ones, to tell everything that is about Yah, or even everything that they know about Yah. Which El Shaddai, the Elohim that says enough, YEHOVAH is the Elohim who says when it starts, and he also says when it ends. And when he says it ends, folks, there ain't nothing you gonna do. When he says you're gonna die, you're gonna die. I don't care how much they beat your chest and shoot you full of drugs, you ain't coming back to life if Yah says I'm taking the life from you. Because they ain't working on nothing but an empty carcass anyways. Which El Shaddai, the Elohim who says enough, Shaddai, enough, YEHOVAH firmly settled. None of this is movable, folks. Hear the wisdom. Everything that I have shared with you is unchangeable. How he views women, how he views men, how he views behavior, how he views children, how he views prayer, how he views giving, and of course, ad nauseum. The list goes on forever. That whosoever is, whatsoever is, might be established for his glory. The same principle is also applies to people in a different context, but you'll see. He seeks out the deep and the heart and considers their crafty devices. So dig on this. Dig on this. We hear that Yah looks at us. Can I give you a little different perspective? You go back and read that scripture again in context if you didn't get it. But can I give you a different perspective? What he just said to us is that YEHOVAH doesn't just likely look over the top, that YEHOVAH looks inside you. I've had people be kind to me and they were actually devious, either trying to manipulate me or hurt me or harm me. And here's what I need you to know. I didn't know it, but Yah did. there is a confidence that some of you people by now, if you haven't heard, there is a confidence that you should be walking in about who this Elohim is. If he hasn't made you believe, he probably never going to. Because you probably wouldn't accept him, and that's probably why he hasn't now. It isn't about him, it's about us. He seeks out the deep and the heart. Seeks out. Hold on, guys. Did y'all hear that? The Elohim seeks out the inside of you. And that's not significant. That's not profound. That doesn't roll you over that when you say all those horrible things about somebody in your mind, Yah is watching you. When you concoct those schemes about how you're going to deficit somebody or you're going to cheat somebody or you're not going to do all of those things, it's like it's in Yah's mind before it gets out of your mind. Wow. I don't know about y'all, man, but my knees is I'm having to kind of stop them down here because they're clapping together. Pretty scary. If your friends can tell that you're not a believer, I assure you, Yah, he's well aware of it. For YEHOVAH knows all that may be known. Now, we could spend the time to discuss what all means. Maybe you have a definition that's different than all. Or maybe you have a different definition for all. Maybe all only means some. For other people, all means everything. For me, all means everything. So Yah knows everything. Everything you said, everything you did, everything I did. He knows all. There's nothing that's hidden from him. You don't even need to tell him when you die and stand in front of him. You don't need to tell him about all the bad things. He's been watching you through your whole life. What you might need to do is learn to be, it's much better to be shamefacedness on this side than it is on the other side. Here you can fix it if you will. There you won't be able to. So he seeks out the deep and the heart. He cares about what's in our mind and considers their crafty devices. He declares the things that are past and the things that are to come. So can I tell you something? Here's how naive we are, and here's how naive Christianity and maybe even Judaism does too. I don't know, because I'm not a Jew. But isn't it amazing that we sit here and we read this? I'm going to read this to you and see if it hits you like it hits me. Okay? He seeks out the deep in the heart and considers their crafty devices. For YEHOVAH knows that all that may be known, and he beholds the signs of the world. Can I ask a question? Do you think it was really accidental? And do you really think that Yah did not know when he created her what she was going to do in the garden? Are you really that much as his enemy that you don't believe him? He says there is nothing that he doesn't know. Oh, well, except for that thing that Eve did. Are you out of your mind? Folks, we got a wrong perspective about Elohim. A really wrong perspective about him. What if he really does know all your hidden secrets? I've watched people laugh when I say that, like, well, I got by with 5,000 sins. No, you didn't. He just hasn't punished you for them yet. You will pay a price for every one of those. He tells us emphatically that you will not get away with anything. Now, he's also a merciful Elohim, and to those people who teshuvah and turn and begin to correct their lives, he also extends mercy, which is where we miss the boat. We forget that part too. How merciful and how kind and how long-suffering this Elohim is. He's been long-suffering. I mean, to me, 30 years of waiting on me, I was born into a Christian church, and I did everything I could do but run to him. But I'm going to tell you today, and every time I think about this and every time I get a new, fresh revelation of this, it really just blows me away, folks. Elohim, I want to tell you this. There were people that lived on this earth that are estimated 100 million years ago. Y'all knew me before those people were ever put on this earth. He knew I would be sitting here tonight talking to you. Tomorrow, he already knows what I'm going to encounter. He may not know exactly how I'm going to react to the situation, because that's where our free will comes in. For YEHOVAH knows all things that may be known. There's nothing that can be known that he doesn't know. And he beholds the signs of the world. He declares the things that are past and the things that are to come, and reveals the steps of hidden things. That's a really nice piece. That's a really interesting piece right there. Did you know that he knows what it takes for me to get to the hidden things, the steps I need to take to get there? He does this constantly with me. Boom, 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 such and such happens, and all of a sudden I end up in a place and I look around and I go, is this coincidence or happenstance? Nope. Don't think it's either one. I think maybe I'm supposed to be, there is a moedim, an appointed time for me to be here in this situation, talking to this person or talking to this person, or being over here doing this or having to make this decision every day, all day long. That is your life. Now, if you choose not to live like that, that's your fault, not mine. But I'm telling you, these words are true. And that's how he deals with humans. That's why you never feel free with him. Because you're constantly trying to hide the sin you're doing, and you know that it's sin, but you hide it. As long as you don't get caught, then you're okay, right? Well, that works down here in America, but that don't work in the heavenly court, folks, because it's all known. He declares the things that are past and the things that are to come. He reveals the steps of hidden things. No thought escapes him. Is anybody here willing to believe that? Do you see it? You either believe it or you don't. It's either bunk or it's truth. He declares the things that are past, so the things past, the things to come. Oh, and everything in between there is not hidden to him. He has garnished the excellent works of his wisdom, and he is from everlasting to everlasting. Will he ever cease? Will he ever end? No. He was here when the Neanderthals were created and given no spirit. And I promise you, if you don't understand this principle, go watch some historical and geographical things about the early people that were what we call pre-Homo sapien. I believe the stage of Homo sapien, no matter what they say, that was Adam, whenever that was. I don't think the gospel narrative, or the narrative of Christianity, and maybe even the narrative of Judaism, I don't believe that these 7 days, if you read it and understand the Hebrew, what was originally written in Genesis in Hebrew was talking about a specific time. It doesn't say that there wasn't 50,000 years between day 1 and day 5, or day 1 and day 2. That's how you get all of these. It was simply what was said was, and a day was the 7th. We also miss that. It really blows people away when I tell them there were 2 creations. And we have proof that there was 2 creations, folks. Even the anthropologists and the doctors who find those skeletal remains and put them back together of the men that lived before us will tell us they were humanoid, but not us. The only ones that was given to us is from Adam on. And prior to that, YEHOVAH's spirit was never given. Those people had no spirit. They rose up every morning, they lived, they suffered, they froze, they cold, they died, their remains rotted, and the next generation came along. They had no spirit. You won't see Neanderthals running around the Shamayim. They were not given Yah's spirit. He tells us that in Genesis, if you would dare to read it. He has garnered the excellent works of his wisdom, and he is from everlasting to everlasting. Unto him may nothing be added. Oh, but haven't they done it? Didn't the Christians do it? Oh, yeah, we're going to add a son to you there, God. Sorry you got it so wrong, but the script says you was supposed to have a son, and he was supposed to be a human sacrifice for a bunch of people who rebelled against you. That sounds more like the devil fighting Elohim. Oh. There's a thought you hadn't had, probably. He has garnished the excellent works of his wisdom. He is from everlasting to everlasting, and unto him may nothing be added, neither can he be diminished. So no matter how much you diminish him in your mind and in your heart, you haven't changed anything. He's still working. I promise you, I saw him 3 times today while I was out. And I'm not talking, I literally saw him, although he did speak some things to me in private. I'm not talking about that. I saw him. And if you don't know what that means, then you could concoct all kinds of wrong pictures. Wow. He has no need of any counselor. Ladies, when you want to go talk to Elohim and tell him how it really should be, don't waste your time. He's not interested in listening. Okay? He made it the way it is, and you either choose to accept him or you choose to reject him. Folks, here's one of the greatest problems that I'm seeing, and even more so for people coming out of Christianity. We think that things are debatable. And I hate to share the bad news to you today. There is nothing about YEHOVAH that is debatable. In fact, he despises debating. Because in YEHOVAH's mind, it is like this, whether you believe it or not. You're just fodder. See, we look at ourselves with all this importance about how I'm the one and I'm big and I know it all and I'm God's man of the hour and yada, 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 and none of that means anything to him. You're just another one of 25 billion that'll walk the face of this earth and die. The whole thing that we fail in is that this is his plan. And he's going to get it whether you agree with him or not. If you don't agree with him, then break his Torah and die. And if you do agree with him and keep his Torah, you'll live. He told us that. That was the covenant. Do my right rulings and keep my right words, and if you do, you will in no wise be a second-class citizen. I don't know about you. That's the most beautiful promise that was ever made to a human. No thought escapes him. Neither any word is hidden from him, even those ones you speak under your breath. And sometimes it's not what Americans call cuss words that he's concerned with. Oh, how desirable are all his works, and that a man may see even to a spark. We may see his works. Can I give you a picture? This is an opinion, but I believe that I'm correct. The spark that's being referred to here is actually an inclusion of massive wisdom. We have people that are in the highest offices in our government who can't discern between what a man and a woman is and what a baby and a not baby is. And yet, the spark that's being referred to here, he sees even to a spark. Do y'all know what he's telling us? From the minute that your or the father's sperm is shot inside the vagina of a woman, from that second when that egg and that sperm meet, from that second, science tells us there is a spark that goes on. It's funny that science would use a word we would find in an ancient biblical text. What is he talking about? All the way down to the minute that the sperm goes inside the egg, Yah even sees that. Oh, we'd kill him. No problem. No moral issue there. You guys see how heinous that stuff is when you begin to look at a righteous Elohim? They lie to you. They tell you it's all right and you believe that crap. I've had people in my church come to church and speak in tongues and raise their hands and pray and dance and go get their daughter an abortion. And of course, you feel ashamed and sorrowful for the little girl because her parents didn't guard her like they were supposed to. I don't care if she likes it. Truth is, she probably ain't ever going to like it. Which would you rather have? How desirable are all his works? Where did all of this let's get rid of the Torah because Jesus is God come from? Man, the all-sufficient Elohim who always is from everlasting to everlasting, that knows every thought, he needed somebody to come and do what he couldn't do. Are you kidding me? That we were even stupid enough to believe that nonsense? I'm sorry, I was stupid enough to believe it. I don't know what you were, but I was stupid enough to believe it. All these things live and remain forever for all uses, and they are all obedient. All of these things live and are for a purpose. It's funny that the rest of the cosmos will obey YEHOVAH's commands, and humans are the ones that he has the problems with. Wow. That's pretty crazy. All things are double, one against another. And he has made nothing imperfect. Does anybody hear that? He has made nothing imperfect. He didn't make YEHOVAH imperfect, folks. She was perfect. And he knew when he made her that she was going to fail. Or he's not Elohim. See, we start the whole Genesis story out, and if YEHOVAH failed so utterly that he doesn't even know what this created being, there's only two of them on the earth that have his spirit in it. Oh, well, I'm sorry, it's a test run model. I kind of messed up on that one. Well, we'll wipe her off in 1,000 years from now, and we'll start all over again. The flood wasn't accidental, folks. Y'all knew there would be a time he would need to clean this earth. But I'm going to tell you something that maybe you haven't figured out on your own. He's waiting for the next cleansing of this earth. The only problem is the last one was a worldwide flood. The next one's going to be a worldwide fire. It is the wiping out of unrighteousness again. All things are double, one against another. Wow. So for every good, there's a bad. For every yes, there's a no. For every up, there's a down. For every bright, there's a dim. One thing establishes the good or another. And who shall be filled with beholding his glory? And of course, and then 43 jumps in. This is all the same thought process, friend. Wow. See, he wants us to have instruction. My dear one, he doesn't want you to be ignorant about who he is, what he is, how he is. He doesn't want you to. Now, if you have been and you choose to stay there, that's on you. And I'm sure there's some others like me on the earth, but I have to tell you, my Father is very well pleased in my message. Yeah, I'm not going to share some things that I'd like to. My flesh would like to share them because it would probably blow your mind at some of the things that YEHOVAH says. He's not done by a long shot. In fact, I'm going to tell you something. He's just starting. I would warn you, get ready. If you can do anything to start preparing in any way to put any kind of amount of food back, there is a famine coming on this land. I did not waste my time or his to ask him, is it in America or is it worldwide? Doesn't matter to me. When it happens, you'll see it. But I assure you, it's coming. We don't like to hear those kind of messages. So we live in a world and we think everything's wonderful and everything is how it is and we're saved and we're blessed because we're an American. My friend, you're just as cursed to be an American because you're just as much a Torah breaker as if you're an American or a Chinese or you go to a Buddhist nation. Doesn't matter. You're no better off. Because there is only one thing that's important in the scheme of YEHOVAH, and that is his word. That is his covenant. That's the only sin. And if Yah doesn't make you or me guilty of something, don't you dare let somebody else make you guilty of it. If keeping his festivals is a bad thing, then you go do the bad thing by yourself. Don't quit keeping his festivals. So, a lot to learn. We have a lot to learn. Man, he's been so good and so kind lately, speaking and leading and guiding and giving peace. I had a couple of you a week ago that called me and said, "Wow, man, I'm starting, the more that as we go down this road, I'm starting to feel more and more peace with my Maker. All of a sudden, he's not such a bad guy after all." And of course, he's not a guy, he's a spirit, but that's certainly a true statement. He's an amazing, wonderful Elohim. I don't desire, I'll tell you the hard things that he says, but you know what? I'm not scared of those things, because my plan ain't to be a wicked person. My plan is to be a Torah observant child of Elohim. I'm not scared of what he does to you. Now, if you're having problems with living his Torah in your life, well, you should be scared. But if you're walking with him, I'm not talking about people who fall. My knees are pretty bloodied up most of the time. Seems like I fall down. Some days I go all day and I fall down, get up, fall down, get up, fall down, get up, fall down, get up. Some of you had that day. It's horrible. Everything you do, you constantly got to fight with your thoughts. You know, situations happen in your life, and you got to make a decision to how you behave, and so you glitch sometimes. Maybe you react wrong. Is that just me? But just because we're human doesn't mean he doesn't love us. He didn't quit loving YEHOVAH. He didn't quit loving Adam. And by the way, they were shamefaced for their failures. It wasn't like they walked around like they would today and, oh, well, I'll go get a new tattoo and get a new piercing put on my face because I failed Yah. That'll make it better, won't it? I only have one sleeve. I better go get another one. You know, I might get cold out there without that ink stuck in my skin. Is anybody hearing me? I don't hate those people. I had a conversation with one today, and she thought that I was going to tell her something that I didn't tell her, but I did tell her the truth. And surprisingly enough, and I've noticed that Yah is beginning to do that. He's putting people that want to hear the truth. Randomly, out of nowhere, I meet a stranger. I'm in a doctor's office. I'm in the Walmart, and I know some of you. I'm not a spokesman for Walmart, folks. It's just the only store in this podunk area we live in where everybody in these two towns around here go to, so you get to see the whole society, the good and the bad of it. Everybody in this room who lives up here shaking their head. That's right, Pastor. You go over there, boy, you're going to see it all. So I'm not a salesman for Walmart, and I would really rather that I was the owner of it. Right? It'd be a lot better store. We have Passover celebration. Come buy your lamb. We would be closed on Shabbat. Y'all would bless us. We would have twice as much on the weekend. Well, I know we'd be sinning because we'd be working on sun worship day. Oh, I'm sorrowful. That's not a provision in their 10 Commandments. It is in Yah's, folks. So, bless you. If you're here and if you come along, I'd like to say hello to all of you people, you know, that come along, and maybe you just stop by and watch something, and I appreciate the help. I appreciate the subscribers. I appreciate all that, whatever this entails. But I'm here because I believe that Yah is giving us a very special window for us to truly come out of the unclean thing and begin to see truth for what it is. Nobody's going to preach this message to you but me, for the most part. There's lots of people out there teaching better. They know more Hebrew, but knowing Hebrew doesn't still have anything to do with the Spirit. Yah knows every language. So it's not like he only listens to the Hebrews. He don't listen to the Texans. He don't listen to the Chinese, because he don't speak Chinese or Texan. So, if you are desirous to walk with YEHOVAH, he has a very straight path. He's not kidding when he tells us that straight is his path and narrow is the way. Folks, if you want a wide way to walk where you can argue and manipulate and talk and debate and decide what it is. Isn't it so funny that Rome would tell you that you can work out your own salvation as long as you do it in fear and trembling? I could make that statement say anything. And there's a lot of people who have already done that with their lives. I don't want to work out my salvation. He's already given me what salvation is. Keep my commandments. That's not hidden. He loved us so much, he gave his word to heal us. That's not unknown. All you have to do is care enough to apply yourself and read it, learn it, study it, and then do it. That might be the hardest part, but if you don't do the other part, you never will do it because you don't know what he says. Maybe you might think he meant, don't kill your blood brother. When he really said that we're not to murder anyone unjustly. It's another story for another day. Shalom to you guys. Blessings to you. I hope you'll pay attention. I hope you'll give heed. It's old school, but I also remember just a few months ago I showed you guys in Jeremiah. We were in Jeremiah, 60 weeks, something like that. That YEHOVAH tells us that the plan, and if it was true when Jeremiah was alive because of the corruption of the Torah by the scribes, how do you think 2,000 years of Christianity's done on the scripture? Yeah, we're supposed to go find the old paths, folks. And that's where we are. And it's not very modern day. It's not woke. Yah's word is not woke. So, shalom to each and every one of you who are endeavoring to follow the Elohim. Baruch atah YEHOVAH Eloheinu. Yes, Melech HaOlam, King of the universe, who's going to give his throne to his son. Oh, I'm sorry, that part wasn't there. I slipped back into my old days. I was going to Chandala and shake my little white flag here in a minute while I'm passing the offering plate. Shalom. We'll be back on Saturday. I hope you guys live a blessed life. I do. Y'all wants us to be blessed, friend. And if you're struggling and wondering why you can't figure it out, maybe if you haven't, maybe you ought to stop and take a little time, a few months, few years, few centuries. And maybe you ought to see if what I'm telling you is true. You might just be surprised that I'm not as wrong as you'd like me to be. Those that don't want to follow the truth want me to be wrong. Those who do want to follow the truth will hear the truth in my words. Shalom. Father, bless you today. Thank you for all your goodness. Thank you for these amazing words that you keep just showing us. Man, you are just fulfilling your word so rampantly. I don't know if you're coming back or we're just going through a phase that you're going to bring on the earth like all the other phases. I don't know the answer to that. I don't declare that Revelation 22:14 is coming to pass and we're going to go to heaven next week. But I do know this, whether that does or doesn't happen, whether you do come back tomorrow or 10,000 years from now, that I only have this time that I'm on this earth to make a single decision. Will I follow your Torah or won't I? There are no other questions to ask until you answer that one. And I answer in front of these folks, Elohim, I will endeavor with all of my life to follow your Torah. Forgive me for my failings. Give me strength that I might fulfill all that you've said to me about teaching your word to the world. Blessings and honor to you, my Elohim. Mikey? guys. I hope you're blessed, and hopefully we'll see you again. We'll be back on Saturday at 2:00. Don't know what the weather's going to be up here. They're talking about next week for us. It's supposed to be in the minuses for about 10 days, and that's cold. So keep warm and keep at peace. May the presence of YEHOVAH fill your life. Shalom.